adoption has been on our hearts for a long time. My brother was adopted from Korea, and so that kind of started, I guess, my family, along with a lot of other families that were in the community that I lived in, either were fostering or had adopted. And so we had this international families group. And so for me growing up, that was a very normal way of expanding your family, and that's all that I knew. It was my only brother. And so when Cory and I started dating and having all those conversations about alignment and what that would look like, kind of one of the main things that I had talked to him about was, you know, I would love to grow our family through adoption. And
it was in our prenuptial agreement.
When you had absolutely nothing.
When we had
the one light item.
When we didn't have the $6,000.
Right.
But yeah, so it really was a big part of the conversation leading up to, like, you know, do we align? And so he had said, you know, that's not something that I'm necessarily familiar with and not something that I feel the same level of comfort that you do, but I'm open to it. Okay. And so that started just the thinking through. And fast forward, we had our oldest son, Nash, pretty easily. And then we thought, well, we'll have two and then adopt. And so long story short, the two was a long journey and a difficult process, and so in the middle of that, we kind of opened up the conversation to, well, we always said that we would be open to adopting. Do we want to consider that now instead? And so that is how our little girl, Monroe, was also adopted. And so we adopted Monroe from birth.
Okay, so birth adoption.
Yeah.
From our country here in the U.S.?
Yeah, locally.
Okay. Here locally?
Yeah, she was born at Sacred Heart Hospital.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, it's very cool.
We got to be there on the morning that she was born, and so it was a really beautiful, amazing experience.
I don't know why I didn't introduce this, because y'all passed so quick, but Mike Yoder, who you met, that we had interviewed him, and our audience, they know we sometimes shoot multiple episodes because we all have busy lives, but Mike's two kids were both adopted. He and his family, they couldn't have children. And they had a story, a lady they were on a walk, and she said, and some random lady said, do you guys know anybody in the community looking to adopt?
Wow.
And so they adopted
crazy.
They were in the birth and all, like he tells it all.
I love
that
every
episode,
single story.
Yeah, we'll have to listen to
He
that.
has an incredible adoption story that he told, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Every story is amazing.
Coming in, and we're going to talk like adoption in this episode. So it was like so weird how God was weaving that through. And they had an amazing story of adoption, and he actually found Christ through his adopted kids.
No way.
Yeah. When he was there,
9 months later,
he said 9 months later he was holding this baby, going like he didn't grow up in a Christian home, but something, the Holy Spirit told him, I need to raise this family in a Christian, these children in a Christian home.
That's amazing.
He literally
Can he get into that on the cast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Found
That's so cool.
He wasn't a Christian guy. He raised
36 years old.
37 years old and got baptized.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I love that it was 9 months, because it was
9 months.
You know, you think about you birth.
So the lady that they agreed to, it's 2 weeks is their prep.
Wow.
2 weeks was the pregnancy. And they had a baby.
And you're like, and here you go.
Here you go.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, I don't want to take away from yours, but it's so crazy.
That
right?
is
There's
crazy.
So
That was the theme of the
stories.
day. That's really cool.
So you got to be in the room though with your daughter? No, or
not
you were
in the
at
room, but we were at the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that was just a beautiful experience, and then when she was 3 months old, we found out I was pregnant. So
No
boom.
way.
Wow.
Yeah, and so surprises. God has lots of surprises.
So you were raising a couple babies.
2 babies at the same time.
Yeah. 1
And a
year and
toddler.
1 day apart.
1 year. Oh, so almost like Irish twins.
Yeah.
to a degree. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. So, you have your 2 children. You have her, and then all of a sudden, years go by. How many years?
Well, we had said, have 2 biological kids and adopt 1. That was the plan, right?
Right.
And we said, well, seeing the CAC, the number of foster kids in our local community and the demand there, let's get our foster certification. Yeah. So we went and did those classes. What was it, 6 months or so?
Yeah, I don't know. Something came over us. I mean, I feel like that's kind of crazy talk. Like, I was pregnant. Monroe was knew, and somehow we're like, let's sit in the middle of some foster care classes just to be like,
Right, this is
what
before
calls you to do that?
This
I
is
don't know.
before you were reevaluating everything on a weekly basis.
Apparently so.
But honestly, we felt called to do it, and
Yeah.
we knew that we were not going to accept foster kids
Yeah.
while we had 2 newborns in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
You know, we knew we were going to delay it
Yeah.
for a couple of years, but we're like, now's the time. Let's get it done, get certified.
Okay.
And when we feel ready, we'll be ready. Then we don't have to start the certification process. So we did that, and then it got to the time where we were ready.
Yeah, it was the time that we were ready. Kind of crazy story, but it was post 2020, you know, and everybody's reevaluating everything in life, and you have time to slow a little bit and a little bit more space to breathe and think through, like, what does life look like? And I was hanging with some friends from church, and one of my friends asked, "Do you think that you would ever consider adopting again?" And my answer to her was, I think if we did, it would be a really random kind of situation where somebody would call us out of the blue and be like, "Hey, this child was born," or, you know, "There's a situation that's come up, and you guys were on our hearts, and just reach out to us." And so I had told her that, and the following day she worked for the church, and she called me and she goes, "You are absolutely not going to believe this, but there was a call to the church about a baby that was born at Fort Walton Beach Medical Center, and they're going to be placed in foster care unless there's a family that steps forward to adopt, and the family would like to have a family from your church step in and adopt. Would you guys consider?" And I was like, did I just say this to you yesterday? And so with that, it just created, the long story short of that is that the grandmother ended up keeping the baby.
But it put this back on your heart.
Totally.
Started laying it
That's
back
what
on your heart.
initiated.
How long between adopting your daughter and having your second biological child to adopting these boys?
So our son was born in 2017, and finalization, they came to us in 22, and finalization was in 23.
Okay.
So 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
So is the process of, it seems like I don't know anything about adoption, other than, you know, friends and you guys and folks around. But is some of the people tell me the process almost is easier, you know, to adopt from a foreign country than it is in the U.S. Am I off on that, or is it? How does that work? I don't know. Is it hard? Is it?
I think
lengthy?
Every adoption story is very different from one another, but all of them are complex.
Right.
And all of them
Costly too, right?
Some can be costly.
Which makes no sense.
Right. Through the foster care system, though, it is not a costly situation.
Okay.
So we had 2 experiences. Monroe was a private adoption, so we paid an attorney, basically have a file.
That they make sure that things go through, that child is yours.
And it you know, costs money like an attorney should earn, and so, but they're doing a lot of the legwork for you. And then our second go was through the foster care system, where we're doing all of that. And
so did these boys were placed with you as foster? To kind of foster to adopt sort of thing?
with the intent to adopt.
With the intent to adopt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this time period was very short because the parental rights had already been revoked. They were in foster care for an extended period of time. The foster mother that they were with is in her 70s and knew, you know, for long term that would not be a viable, you know, adoption. And so they were seeking out families for their adoption.
It sounds like she instilled a lot into them.
Yeah,
at a very young age.
She did. She's an amazing woman.
That's so cool.
She is.
Isn't it cool how God
hilariously
works?
Funny too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put them here until I'm going to move them here, but they're going to get what they need right here.
Well,
Absolutely, and that's her whole
So cool.
her whole thing.